It's the most magical time of the year, and I'm not talking about Christmas. I'm talking about the NFL season. So make sure you're ready with NFL Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV. Get the most live NFL games all in one place. Right now, you can save $85 when you bundle NFL Sunday Ticket with YouTube TV. Sign up today at youtubetv.com/Spotify. Device and content restrictions apply. Discount applied to first 4 months of YouTube TV, then $72.99 a month. Ends August 29th. Terms, restrictions, and embargoes apply. No refunds.
Ampire. Hello, babies. Hey, babies. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. What's up, Callow? How you doing?
Good. You sound beat already. It's Tuesday, man. Get it together.
I got to tell you, I thought this double joint practice thing was a good idea for me, but it really wasn't. I'm so tired. Part of it's my fault, but I'm just tired. So I'll be happy to get through this week, end training camp, get through the preseason, reset next week. That's how I feel about the whole thing.
I mean, I will say this. It was New York, New Jersey, and Miami, not, Buffalo and Charlotte, North Carolina. Like
I said, some of it's my fault.
You can't resist. You can't resist.
I mean, come on,
YOLO. You only live once.
Yeah. The playlists for those areas are just different than the ones, so you just get pumped up and you're ready to go and you're all excited. And then, whatever, I'll survive. It's like I said, 30-40% of it's my fault. I went a little too fast, too far. That's all. I got to pace myself. I've learned I need to pace myself. And as I get older, I got to pace myself even more. But we'll get there.
Got it. Fair enough.
All right, let's get to the news. Yes, he's the quarterback. I think I said this yesterday. He will probably be named the quarterback today. Everybody on earth assumed that was going to be the case. There was no reason to even question it. And in the very, very, very limited, preseason appearances that he made, he was terrific. He had 3 series. He was really good. The numbers look great. It just feels great, looks great. Everything looks like he's under control, cool, calm, collected. Nothing seems too big for him at this point. Be interested to see what happens when he plays, a defense that, isn't playing a preseason game. We'll find out in a couple weeks. But Jayden Daniels being named the starting quarterback is one of the least surprising things that's happened around here in a long time. So
yeah, and it wasn't like Marcus Mariota played well enough to overtake him either. I think this is a factor a lot of people just haven't really touched on because Jayden is that guy, but it's not like Marcus lit it up either. Plus he got hurt, so we all know how that kind of works. Like Jayden jumped ahead of him and was never going to look back. Not to say that he ever fell behind, but no, not shocking at all. And once again, boxes were being checked. He checked them all. And as I said to you, in preseason, how much can we look forward to what some of these guys execute? And to me, it was, are you getting in and out of the huddle? Can you call plays? He audibled, which I didn't think we were going to see in the preseason, and he got a little heat for. But for all intents and purposes, he looks like a starting quarterback. There's no way he wasn't going to be the starter unless it was disastrous.
Yeah, it's been every step of the way has been really good. It was funny yesterday, because, me and all the media friends, they like to get they don't like anything that happens in any order. It's just this is so obvious this was going to happen. You still have an announcement for it. Why wouldn't you? You still it's still a big moment. He's been named the starting quarterback. You hold a press conference for it. Yes, it's been obvious, but you didn't know it was going to be obvious when camp started. You have to go through camp. And this coach has been preaching all along. And in his case, he said from day one, his line was, this isn't a secret here, what we're trying to do. We want him to be the starter, we want him to be the starter, but we have to go through the process with him. And we did. And everything looks great. And at times he looks more decisive than Mariota does. Been around the block a lot longer than he has. Mariota, by the way, has been great. He name checked him a million times yesterday. Quinn and Daniels did, about how supportive he's been, walked down the same road. I've been talking about this for a couple of weeks with some of the people down there. I'm like, Mariota plays his cards right. He could be the backup here for 5 years, because he's just the right temperament, right personality, understands where he is in his career, and they don't have to change a thing on the offense, if he were to go in and have to play a game, because his skill set is very similar to what Jayden has. Even Driscoll's is too, to some degree. So they got the right quarterback room there. And so I don't know. I don't know. Everyone's trying to find something to be all ornery about, but they went through a process. He checked all the boxes. The time was now to name him the starter. It was after the second preseason game. What's weird about that? He did it. Congratulations.
No, I mean, I get that too. I mean, I know some people don't want to celebrate milestones, but this is one that you have to at least name. Like, we all knew when the Caps had an open captain vacancy in I think it was 2009, 2010. Ovechkin was going to be the captain. You still have to announce that. You still have to have a moment for it. And hockey's probably a little bit of a bigger deal compared to a franchise that's had to name their 8th starting quarterback in 8 years. But you still have to do the thing, even if you've done it a million times. Yeah, there's no right or wrong way to do it either. That's the other part about it.
Well, you knew I was going to get married when I got engaged. You still have to show up in a nice suit.
That's right. Yes, exactly.
Sorry.
Right.
You still got to bring me a present. You still have to do that.
Correct. Now, after the second or third time, though, we all know it kind of gets overdone.
The third time is like, I'm not celebrating this. And it's really for her because I don't trust anymore.
Right.
We're going to celebrate. When is this going to end? But on a first go, you do it. You show up, you put on your nice suit and you say nice things, even though it was obvious what was going to happen. But that's the good news. It was obvious it was going to happen. Like it was funny, because everybody was kind of going back and forth on a couple of things with him yesterday. And some of them were like, this is obvious. And I'm like, yeah, that's a good thing. Like, the guy who got picked number 3, who's coming here to play on Sunday, it's not obvious, actually. And they don't have a quarterback on their team, and they're rebuilding, and they have a new coach, and he hasn't definitively won the job yet. Like this is a good thing that they're doing this. And right. If you don't care to see it that way, it is. Like, he obviously won the job. He obviously is going to be the quarterback. Caleb obviously is going to be the quarterback there. The guy who was picked number 3 on a team that doesn't have a quarterback and has a new coach hasn't obviously won their job yet. Like, that's way different situation than what we're in right now. So
no, 100%. And I said this, and we talked about it on my show yesterday, about how this regime too is all about competition. They weren't going to hand it to him either. They had to stay consistent, even though they know he's the best quarterback on the roster. You had to make him earn it, just like everyone else on this roster is earning all of their positions. I think the only 4 guys that are not quote unquote earning them are McLaurin, Kane, Allen, and Wagner. That's it. And that's okay. Like, one of them's one of the best linebackers of all time, going to go to the Hall of Fame. The other was one of the best wide receivers in franchise history. And the other 2 are defensive tackles that we're not worried about. Like, other than those, every single person has to compete to wherever they're at right now. Yes. And they needed to make Jayden was a part of that too.
They've made everybody compete. In Payne and Allen's case, there's nobody even remotely close that's better than them on the roster.
Right.
And with McLaurin, I mean, we could talk on and on about the receiving core because it was brought up again yesterday, like where the hierarchy is and who's doing what the competition looks like. Well, that one guy has 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons. So, and he's had it under adverse situations with really poor schemes at some point and terrible quarterbacking at other points, and he's still able to produce. And he looks like he's in his best shape, and he's locked in, and he's the guy who clearly is their number 1. So the only people that have been, quote unquote, protected that way are those, but they deserve it.
Yes, they've earned that.
He's a rookie. I didn't understand this. Like, he's a rookie. What if he crapped his pants in camp? You don't know. You don't know until he does it. So they gave him the opportunity to show what he can do. He's gotten better the whole way at every step. I mean, I've been trying to be careful about it too. Even in the spring, I'm like, this looks really good. Like, the guy that I heard about at LSU, the work ethic, the ability, it's all there. It's all evident. And now, if we're just going to start nitpicking him because he doesn't know how to slide, then we're in a very good spot here because everything else seems to be ahead of schedule, and that's what we want. And the better part is, the other part that's advertised that I love about it is he's clearly capable of being a running quarterback, but that's not his first, second, or third option. Like, they've run some designed run plays, but even in the preseason, again, limited time, he's never vacating the pocket really quickly to run, even though he's capable of it. And that's the other part about this. He's an advanced player. He has a lot of experience. He's played with different coaches in different systems, and he clearly understands that he's going to have to throw the ball to win, and he'll run the ball when he has to. And I appreciate that about him too.
No, I mean, all the decision making has been spot on, the little that we've seen of it, right? And in fact, like I keep referencing, he's gone above and beyond in terms of those audibles and what he's done. And like, once again, the teacher, as in Quinn, gets mad at him because he's kind of jumping ahead of the curriculum. Like we've all seen that kid before. Like, but that's what's happening here. And it's not even like he's mad. He's been very tongue-in-cheek about it, very lighthearted about it, which is like the difference here with him in the last regime is he's like joking about it. Like, yeah, we gotta get him, you know, to stop doing that a little bit. And basically though, I think you and I hit on it before too, is they just don't want to like reveal anything what he can do now. Like they're trying to keep him close to the vest at this point.
I think that audible thing had a little bit to do with that. They don't want people to see any glimpses of where he is. He is a rookie. Come Tampa, there's going to be, you know, you can't hide it any longer, but you might as well hide it as long as you can. And, you know, like he really does feel ahead of schedule. I think the thing, every time I look back and watch the series that he's played in the games, and I really do appreciate that Miami brought it a little bit, maybe not with all their starters, but they brought it. Different coverages, different looks, blitzes, like as you don't see a lot of that in the preseason. So I think it was a pretty good test. He's very calm and very collected. Like he doesn't seem to get rushed. And that's a really good sign too. Often like those plays that Caleb Williams made the other day are outrageous. And if he's going to do that stuff regularly, he's going to be Mahomes. But like, just watch closely and go look at his completion percentage. Like he's bailing out of stuff like that's an early sign of a rookie quarterback that doing stuff like that. This guy isn't even doing that. And I know it's a really small subset, but when people say like, it feels like he's been doing this a long time, it does. It feels like he's been doing this a long time. And off of that Jets game, when they got so mad about him, you know, checking out of a play, I mean, was it, they were mad because it was an act of defiance maybe? Or is it, why are we going to show anybody what he's capable of at this point? Like, just go out there. You know, we know what you're doing in practice. This reminds me of the McLaurin thing a couple of years ago where they just didn't play him in the preseason. And I'm like, that's weird. And then they put him out on the field and he's burning Eagles corners and like, oh, you're like, use it to your advantage. So I think there's a lot going on here. In the end, though, like, yeah, it was obvious he was going to be the starting quarterback at some point, but you can't sit here and say that he didn't earn it. Like they didn't gift it to him and he earned it. Go watch his play. Go watch these practices. If you saw the joint practice in Miami, you would have been like, they could have named him the starter after that, the way it was going.
No, it's funny too, to kick it back to like what the media was like, oh, it's obvious he was going to be the starter. It's like, well, I don't know. Like the last time, you know, we had a rookie quarterback in here or like a second year quarterback, not named Sam Howell. I'll throw that one away. But like, I don't know. Dwayne Haskins didn't exactly look great, right, and he was named the starter. And we're all like, all right, let's see if this works out. And then we found out it was just extended preseason, right? He played 4 games, right? Or you even go back to Robert. Not that Robert didn't light the world on fire in his rookie year, but we didn't really see much in training camp and preseason that year. Like we saw a little bit of it, but it wasn't like this reassuring how Jayden has been. Like, oh, he looks great. He looks fantastic. It was this kind of like, all right, let's hope this works out. Like we didn't see this overwhelming, oh, he looks really good. He has command of the offense.
You know, RG3 is an interesting one. Like, because if you remember, they built suited to his skill set the first time around. Maybe not the offense they wanted to run, but an offense that suited his skill set. That's not what's happening here with this quarterback. They're asking him to run Kingsbury's scheme. And to this point, and again, I think everybody needs to slow down because he hasn't played a regular season game yet. And it's going to be different when they play Todd Bowles and a playoff caliber defense and a guy who has eaten rookie quarterbacks for lunch for years. Let's see what that looks like. But that's not what's happening here. They're not catering to a specialist who happened to be an elite athlete. No, they're asking him to run Kingsbury's pro-style offense that has multiple looks and downfield passing and will incorporate some design runs because he's very capable of it, but aren't going to feature it, as far as I can tell. Aren't going to feature it at this point, which is why, I mean, they keep talking about him, get down, get down. They don't even want him running the ball a ton. It doesn't even seem like they're not going to feature this thing. So I'll give the Shanahan's credit because they realized I don't think RG3, in fairness, could do something like this right off the bat. And we never knew whether he could or he couldn't because injuries derailed his career. But they're not looking at Daniels this way that we have to incorporate college style offense to have any success with this guy. We're putting him right into the fire with a pro offense. And so far, he's passing the test so far, and that also is a really good sign here.
I would say the flip side of both of them, though, too, was the Shanahans decided, okay, Robert, this is what you do best. You run. We're going to cater the offense to you. But then what happened when Robert and, his dad didn't want to do it anymore? They forced their hand and said, we want to be a pocket passer. And they're like, you can't do that. And of course, that not only did injuries derail it, that derailed it too. He wanted to, run his offense now all of a sudden, and that didn't end up working out.
I mean, this is like Fields in Chicago, where they actually tried to force him to do the offense Jayden is doing, or like something similar, a pass forward offense. By the middle of the season, they realized he wasn't ready to do that. And they started catering to him, and he posted these crazy rush numbers because that's what he's best at. And he happens to be unbelievably good at it. And when he's out in open space, I keep feeling like with proper coaching, he might be able to turn it around because I think he could be a really good passer if he gets in the right situation with the right passers. RG3 was similar. They have this elite athlete. He was capable of doing these things. They catered an offense around him. That's not what's happening here. Like that's, and this is a really, really, really good sign too, that like they're asking him to do all these different things that are basically a pro style offense. And he's so far so good. He'll be the first to admit though, and tell you, I'm not ready yet. I'm still learning. It's my first go around. I talked to him after the game the other day in Miami, and he was he was very happy that they threw all the looks at him. And I asked him why. And he said, because I hadn't seen this stuff before and I need to have people do this for me. And like at every turn, he seems to be humble, open-minded, wants to run the offense the way it is designed, wants to succeed in it. And I think at some point, where it appears that he's heading, they may open it up to him running the ball a little bit more because it's a weapon. But they're not designing it that way, even though it is for him. So really, I mean, all of it is really, really, really good signs to me right now.
Well, I think too, he's passing, running this offense with flying colors. And if you don't have to rely on him running it yet, that just becomes a dagger at some point, yes. Right? You get to put it in your back pocket. And you know how the NFL works. Every single coach that is coaching against him is going to say, guys, we might be the first team that they run against with this. So you have to watch, and they have to waste time practicing that. Like, well, you know how this works.
If he gets particularly good at it too, like the one thing I think Daniel Jones is really good at are those fakes and keeps, and he's actually very fast. Well, if it gets to the point where people start to fall asleep on the fact that like he doesn't really run the ball very much, he's going to catch people and pop off these big runs because he's going to catch them on the backside. And I think that's the hope here. The fact that they're not featuring it, though, at least at this, as far as I can tell, they're not. And I don't feel like they're going to. It doesn't feel like that's happening at all. Like everything that we're talking about with them building this offense that we haven't seen a lot of, that we're trying to figure out what they're going to do, is all the run game or the passing game. And it doesn't involve him running the ball. All of it. Like every single piece of it features him as a passer. So I think this is all really, really good and heading in the right direction. But he is a rookie. They have a line that's questionable, and they have receivers they haven't figured out roles for. And I don't know that anyone would look at that entire core and go, there's a bunch of Pro Bowlers over there. That's not what the Bears are throwing out on the field. So there are flaws on the roster. There are holes on the roster. There are weaknesses on the roster. But at the most important position, I feel really, really good at what the baseline is right now.
No, we've talked about it all off season. If they figure this out, that we know, like, let's say they still have a bad record, but we know Jayden is keeping them close every game. That's a win for the entire season. Like, that's all we need to figure out, because the problem with this fan base is going to be what happened with Houston last year. Houston had the perfect scenario where Stroud popped off and they decided to go for it right away. And they were playing.
Like, right, don't forget that part. Yeah. I mean, that could happen here, but feels very unlikely.
Correct. Yeah. And like, they won a playoff game with them. And like, the fervor this fan base, I can already tell, is hoping that's what happens here. And I think everyone needs to just like realize what has happened 99% of rookie quarterback seasons is it's you see signs of it and then you go for it, if you see those signs. And I think everyone just needs to realize that like, if it's not Stroud, it's still okay, is what I'm getting at here too.
Yeah. I mean, like the Bears to me they're going to be interesting, because if Caleb is ahead of schedule, and some of the highlights suggest he is, but some of the stats suggest he's not, with the talent that they're throwing out there with him immediately, they could be really good. Similarly, though, I got a hard time buying that it's an easy road in their division, because with Detroit and Green Bay, good luck with that. Like, yeah. They're not going to both be bad. Like, that's not going to happen. Like, what ended up happening for Houston was very fortunate. Like, not only were they very good and Stroud was terrific in his rookie season, but Jacksonville had an unusually down year off of a playoff season. And then Indianapolis and Tennessee were both rebooting. And then Richardson got hurt. So you don't even know like what he is yet as a quarterback. So that became a two-team race very quickly. And all they needed was Jacksonville to not have the type of season they were projected to have. And they didn't. And so they stole that division. In the case of Chicago, good luck having both Detroit and Green Bay both go sideways. It doesn't feel like that's possible. And for us, like, I think Philly's roster's too good for that to happen. But considering what it was a year ago and how it went the wrong way and how they didn't fire their head coach, I could buy into some scenario by which things don't start well. And if you look at their schedule, because they're going to Brazil and playing a good team, like if they get off on the wrong foot and the chemistry's off again, then maybe they're not as good as I think they're going to be. And then you can make the case that Dallas really isn't as strong as they've been, and there's going to be a lot of pressure on them. And for some reason, they're not signing their stars to contracts, and that may piss everybody off. And you never know, like that might spiral the wrong way. So but we need a lot of steps to get to that point. Like you got to make up a lot of things have to happen for that scenario to be Houston again. I just want to see this team competitive. I want to see this team in December playing games that have potential wild card, or if they get lucky, division on the line, just be in a position like that. And I want to see Jayden continue to grow, get better, and show the promise that he's shown through the spring and the summer. And then I'll feel really good about what's happening next year, because I think we all get it. Like I look at this roster and I go, there's too many new people and too many holes to believe anything crazy is going to happen. But it doesn't mean they can't end up with a 500 or better record that's either threatening or sneaks into the playoffs at all, especially if he's going to be CJ Stroud, because we've learned this forever. We've seen bad quarterbacking. What does good quarterbacking do? Good quarterbacking masks a lot of issues, and we'll see what happens with him this year.
No, I mean, I think not expectation, but I think my best case scenario is they hover around 500 for a while. Like we'll call it 8-9 weeks, or even maybe 2 games under 500, and they just get within striking distance. I think that's all you can ask. Yeah. Like give them
December games mean something. We go to New Orleans and there's something on the line,
Correct.
Like Atlanta comes here late. It's a home game and they're probably vying for the division. And that game matters for both of us because we could get in the wild card. Like that's the scenario I'd love to see.
No, exactly. Like knocking someone off to possibly get yourself into that position. That's what I'm hoping.
Yes. Since we mentioned him, and I haven't really talked about it, where's RG3 going to go? That was mildly surprising to me that they did that. And, not that I want to get in their business right now because I don't care, but like when you're paying Stephen A. whatever you're going to pay him, and you pay McAfee whatever you're going to pay him, to come back and then say we don't have enough money to afford everybody else is ridiculous. Those are just the choices you've made. And I also think in a place like that, it never comes down to money. Like ultimately you can use that as an excuse. So there's some other reason why they wanted to make this move. I don't know why, but they did. And he's gone, which, like for us, it's so easy to just go after him and make fun of him. I thought he was good on television. Like I got a little annoyed with his internet stuff and his posting stuff because he just inserted himself into everything, but that's him. He's going to insert himself into every possible thing to try to get attention. But when on TV and either scripted into whatever, segments they were doing, I found him to be entertaining, poignant, good, energetic. So I was a little surprised that they moved on from him.
You don't think it was the croissant picture that put it over?
What was that?
You didn't see that?
The croissant picture? Oh no!
You should just hit the Google machine RG3 croissant, and you should
Is it appropriate or is it not appropriate?
I mean, no, but like, it just involves a French pastry. That's all. You're just gonna have to Google it. I can't explain it. Like,
I really don't know what you're talking about, and I don't even know where that's going. Like, if you just listen to, if like, I don't know what you're talking about, and you're just like, you have to Google French pastry RG3, and I'm like, what's the possible outcome that I'm going to see? What's that search going to give me?
We'll do it during the break, and then I want you to react to it on the other side because, it basically became a meme, like fast. Like, I can't believe you didn't see that. It literally happened the morning of the Jets game, I want to say, or maybe the night before. And it's him and his wife.
He's just eating a giant croissant?
Yeah, but look at how he's eating it.
Okay. Right. Okay.
And so
again, I wasn't sure where that was going. And
people were cropping just RG3 in that one part. And so it became its own meme, but people were like, what you're doing. It's going to go viral because you are being wildly inappropriate with a croissant. That's essentially what happened.
I'll never forget when I was up there. I think I've told you this before with Lindsay. Did I tell you how I protected her once, Lindsay Zardiak?
You might have. I don't remember this though.
So it was around July 4th, and of course Joey Chestnut's coming to the studio. And of course, the producer wants to do a bit where we eat a lot of hot dogs.
You did tell me this, yes, yeah.
And Lindsay was working. I think I was working with her, or she was doing a show. I don't know. We were in the bullpen together, like getting ready for a show. I don't remember if I was on the show with her or not. That part I don't remember. But she told me they wanted her to do, a faux, mini hot dog eating contest. And I just said to her, I go, you can't do that. She was like, why? And I go, you cannot do that. You can't shove a bunch of hot dogs in your mouth live on television. You just can't do it. I'm like, I don't know how you would shove a bunch of hot dogs into your mouth on live television, but I do know that the internet's going to enjoy it very much, and they're going to find ways to profile that. You literally cannot do that.
And it's going to live forever. There's no getting rid of it. You just, yeah.
RG3 so you think he got fired because of the croissant?
I think it could have been a turning point. That's all I'm saying. Like, I think they could have been on the fence and they're like, all right, dude, that's it.
Would get it?
I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying it could have been the turning point. He could have been on thin ice and that could have broken the ice. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, it could have. Yes, it could have broken the ice. All right, let me take a quick break. We're about to show you 6:30 in the Sports Capital.
This episode is brought to you by Honda. When you test drive the all-new Prologue EV, there's a lot that can impress you about it. There's the class-leading passenger space, the clean, thoughtful design, and the intuitive technology. But out of everything, what you'll really love most is that it's a Honda. Visit honda.com/EV to see offers.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See detail.
All right, welcome back. Bram watch the show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. All right, a few other things about the Commanders from yesterday when Dan Quinn announced that Jayden Daniels was, shocker, the starting quarterback of the team. They want to see Brandon Coleman play. He has not yet. Third-round pick out of TCU, was having a terrific camp, unofficial first depth chart. They keep making you say unofficial first depth chart, listed as the starter. That didn't come as much of a surprise, mainly because I don't think they have other options really outside of it's not that Cornelius Lucas can't play, but he didn't walk in the door as he's obviously the starting left tackle. So the door's been wide open for something like this to happen. if this were to occur, where let's just say not only does he start and play, but is actually like pretty good, okay, or like is moving forward their left tackle, that may be the most important thing to happen outside of Daniels for this franchise for any period of time. Because just think about that for a second. He comes in as a third round pick, making third round money for 4 to 5 years, and he's your left tackle. Just consider the cap savings of not having to pay the 20 to 30 million a year to get the guy to protect our quarterback because of who he is. So that would be the all-time break of all breaks with this draft class if that actually works out. And he's had a shoulder injury, he's missed some time, and they're slow rolling him, and they're not going to, quote unquote, take a chance with him this weekend. But if he can go, I doubt, they haven't said whether Jayden will play against the Patriots, and I just doubt it, but like, we'll see. I actually think he'll go out there and get some reps because I think they want to see him with the lights on. So we'll see.
No, I would want to see him too. Not unlike with Jayden, the debate before the preseason was, how much do you want to see him play? And for me, it was, you got to get him out there. He's never played in the NFL before. It's the same thing with Coleman. You have to get him out there for some amount of snaps, whether it's a drive, 2, a half. I don't know how much work they want to get him, but I feel like he's got to play if he's healthy enough to go. And I think that's the right decision too. Like, he's got to get his feet wet here. And then you've also got a couple weeks until the first game anyway. So it's not like he's got to go back up, go right up to another game next weekend as well.
Yes. The other thing I'm watching for this weekend is who are going to win the return jobs. They are still wide open. Well, maybe that might be the wrong way to put it. There's a lot of people vying to potentially do it. Will somebody different than what we've seen in the preseason do kick returns? I think that's possible. Like, I think that's possible. Byron Pringle, if he's going to win a job on the team, it will be because not only is he a pretty good receiver at the bottom of the, of the group, but he's been effective on kick return. So that's possible for him. I still think it's possible that others may do it that they haven't really profiled in the preseason. In the punt return part of it, Cazella, I think they want him to win that job. I think they need to find a role for him on offense, and that fumble didn't help the other day. It's the second year in a row that they've said, okay, man, show us. And he had a bad fumble in a preseason game. So I don't know how much that weight they're going to put on something like that, because Quinn was talking about him again. I think they see the speed and explosiveness. I think they realize they don't have a lot of that on this team. And so they're like trying to find a way to earmark a spot for him, so much so that they're even like, could he be a running back at this point? Because they have so many receivers and they don't want to cut anybody. And I don't think they see him necessarily as a better receiver than Pringle or Crowder or Tremaine for that matter. Like, so they got to like earhole him into something, like that to figure out how to do it. So I think that's going to be interesting this weekend too. Who gets the opportunities? Does anyone pop one? Because if they do, it's memorable for the coaches. And if it's Allen, I think they'll figure out a way to get him on the roster. And if not, they'll probably end up on the practice squad again.
This is one of those ones. I always have like a couple where, training camp and preseason ends, but the battle never really stops. I think this is going to be not a rotating door. I think it's an overstatement, but we're going to see a couple of these guys probably get cut and then re-signed and cut and re-signed. This is just one of those ones where it's not going to get settled this weekend, in my opinion. I think we're just going to see multiple iterations probably for the first half of the season. Not unlike how I was talked about the offensive line a little bit. This one, though, you can actually probably rotate a little bit more without, as much urgency. Yeah. So I just think this is one that doesn't get settled this weekend.
Probably not. All right. The other one I'm watching very closely is this corner. So the top, 4 to 5 are relatively, I think, settled. Forbes, St. Juice, Davis, Igbenogany, Sandra still. So it doesn't feel like there's much of a battle there. But I know they like this undrafted rookie Chiganuzium a lot. They actually gave him a decent amount of money, as a signing bonus for someone who wasn't drafted. He's been getting some opportunities. They put him a lot on special teams. Has he done enough to win a job? I don't know. And they also haven't given him any real run with the ones, so there's no hint that it's happening. They are name-checking Castro Fields, had a nice game, was very active against Miami, clearly is vying to get a spot. Been around the league a couple years now, was formerly a draft pick, was a Ron waiver wire pickup a couple years ago, has stuck around, really stood out the other night. Can they find a way to find him a job? Maybe, but who's getting cut for it? And then it was interesting because, the kicker was brought up again. And Quinn openly admitted, he said, ask Adam Peters about it, but then was like, that battle is continuing. Well, there's no one else on the roster because their kicker is somewhere else right now. And he even said, back in the good old days, when they did 2 cuts, the specialist would get cut this week and we could have brought somebody else in. But because nobody has to do that right now, the extra kickers that teams have, and we have played the Jets who have 2, and we're going to play the Patriots who have 2. Those guys, those decisions haven't been made. So come Monday, Tuesday, we're going to see some kickers available. Well, he also just kind of mentioned and other position groups. I think this is one of them. Like I think offensive line, if there was a surprise out there, like a surprise tackle somehow got cut and had been performing okay, but they just have too many players or don't want to pay this guy or whatever it is, and he gets put out on the open market. That typically doesn't happen. But if it does, I think this team would be interested. But I got a funny feeling that this is the position group he's talking about. That if some corner that they like surprisingly is cut next week, I wouldn't be shocked if that person gets brought in here.
No, I mean, this is another one of those position groups that I think they have battles that are going to last into the season. Like, we're not going to have a consistent starting 3 to 4, I think. I think we're going to see a rotation. So. Yeah, we're going to see a rotation of it.
Andrew still's a day one starter, but outside of that, but he's slot corner. Outside of that, I'm not sure. And I do feel like they're working with the people they think are the best at the position. They're open-minded to some younger guys who they haven't given the type of run that would suggest they're going to get those jobs. And then they're hinting, we're going to watch the waiver wire. I think that's the position they're talking about.
No, I agree. I also think it's going to matter, like, is there a veteran available? Like, I think they might be trying to add someone to that room that's, like, been around the block a few times to be the quote-unquote coach on the field, essentially.
Yes. All right, one more football thing. Why are the Cowboys not signing CeeDee Lamb? What? I don't get what's going on here now. I think he went on Instagram and posted something that looked like Batman yesterday. Which I don't know. I don't know what. Now I'm like the second time, like I didn't know what the croissant picture was. I don't even know what the reference is here. I'm so football brained with this team that like everything else has kind of disappeared for the last couple. This happens to be every August. I'll get back into the real world with everybody else. I did watch the DNC last night, so at least I saw that. But like, I will, like, I'll get back in the real world in about a week when I get out of football brain. But like, I no longer understand what's going on here. Like, he is a top 5 to 10 receiver. The cost is the cost. This isn't Ayuk to me, actually. Yep. I think it is. I think he's a cut above this. I also think they can't win without him right now. Like, go show me the other skill position people right now that you're scared of on that team. If you don't have him, their offense could go sideways. Like, I don't get it. Like, and Jerry's old and talks about wanting to win. Like, I totally don't get this at all anymore. The price is the price on this guy.
It's actually 2. It's not only CD, it's Chase. Like, that one's starting to heat up now as well. And what I don't get it with both cases is they are both the tier 1 guys. They're not going to both get Jefferson money. Chase might, but I think Jefferson gave you the line and now adjust accordingly. A little bit less for maybe both of those guys. The number is there. And what I actually really don't understand anymore is once you pay them, the price is automatically going down from there on out. Like, the second you get it done, it becomes a deal with it, however further along you get on it. So I don't really understand, why are you waiting this out? It's just going to keep getting more expensive the longer you wait.
He's gotten better. Like, the first year I watched him, like first couple of years I watched him, and I'm like, he's pretty good, but like, I don't know. But he's gotten better and better and better. He is now a top 10 to 5 receiver. The price is the price. There's nothing you can do about it. And this is not a system player. Like, no offense to Ayuk, but like, I think Shanahan's probably even sitting there going, just give me, high-end athletes and I can teach them how to play within this system. It's not what's happening down there. And the window on that team seems to be shutting fast. Like, they're making weird decisions. They're letting their roster get, stripped down. They're not going all in. They're refusing to pay the quarterback who has them leveraged, even though I'm not sure that that's not the right thing or wrong thing to do. And I don't understand this one. I don't understand. He's a very, very high caliber player. He led the league in receptions last year. Like, what are you doing? So I don't know what it is with him, and I don't get it. And we talked about this last week. Like, there's some semblance of Jerry's losing his fastball down there, right?
I told you. Dallas Cubs. Dallas Cubs.
Yeah, I don't think that, like, they're not cheap. Like, that's the craziest part of the whole thing. They're not cheap. But so you think they're just happy being a brand that they don't really?
So. Yeah, that they're going, we're good enough. Like, as long as we dangle the carrot out there in front of all of our fans and we them boys and we win 8 games and all of a sudden we're in the playoff mix. I don't know. For me, it just feels like they feel a little bit like the Philadelphia Flyers to me over the last 5 to 10 years. Like, you talk to people in the Flyers organization and they'll be like, we're back to hockey now, but for some reason, Gritty was our number 1 player there for 5 years and we can't figure it out. And I think the Cowboys are kind of just smelling themselves a little bit too much. I think it's just, we're the Cowboys. We'll just get this done. And it's
weird.
You still have to run the team. You have to run the team still. I don't get it.
Yeah. Something's off. Why aren't they just paying him? Something's really, really off here. So
the other thing that's way off is, and I've talked about this before, and I read this, I think it was Barnwell. No, it was Graziano that did a whole top 10 quarterbacks that could change hands next year, and Dak was at the top of the list. And the details on Dak now are, by the way, are amazing. Not only is it a $40 million dead cap hit next year, if he doesn't return to the team, they have to do it before the league year starts. So that means if Dak hits free agency, the $40 million dead cap hits no matter what.
So they're stuck. They have to give him a deal.
They have to. Well,
or
it's
trade him.
Well, and if you don't have Dak, then CD's going to be like, I'm out. Trade me. I don't really maybe not if they pay him, but whatever. But all I'm getting at is, I don't know. To me, it feels like it's House of Cards right now. You got to sign somebody to give everyone in that building going, okay, we're not crazy here. Because even I think Parsons is looking at this going, why are you not paying those 2 guys?
Yeah, if I was him, I would be looking at this going, what's going on? What? The team's getting worse around me. You guys aren't bringing anybody in to make us better. The players who clearly need to get paid for some reason can't get paid from you guys. Am I with the Cowboys? Where am I right now?
Yeah.
And that's the weirdest part of the whole thing. Here's the most valuable franchise on earth. A guy who cheap is not a word I would use for him. Everything they do is first class. Literally every. I love going down to their games. Everything they do. Every team works with them in hospitality because it's first class. I don't get this. I don't understand what they're doing. And I don't know. It's like Jerry's lost his fastball with this. Yeah. I don't understand.
All
right. Let me take a quick break. Bram and Callow, at 6:30 Sports Capital.
This episode is brought to you by Experian. Are you paying for subscriptions you don't use but can't find the time or energy to cancel them? Experian could cancel unwanted subscriptions for you, saving you an average of $270 per year and plenty of time. Download the Experian app. Results will vary. Not all subscriptions are eligible. Savings are not guaranteed. Paid membership with connected payment account required.
At BlueNile.com, you can find endless ways to make your moments sparkle. From classic and timeless jewelry gifts to creating the custom engagement ring of her dreams, all at prices you won't find at a traditional jeweler. And right now, you can save up to 40% on fine jewelry and 25% on engagement ring settings during the Blue Nile Anniversary Sale, going on now. Go to BlueNile.com to shop the Blue Nile Anniversary Sale and save up to 40%. That's BlueNile.com.
All right, welcome back. Bram and Callow, ESPN 630 to Sports Capital. I was going to get to Tua, but I kind of run out of time. Maybe I'll save that for tomorrow because I haven't heard someone trash an ex-coach probably correctly in a very long time. And, I'm assuming that what he said yesterday about how Flores would walk in and just basically tell him he was terrible every single day and how that really didn't help very much. That was some truth telling I haven't heard before. And I think Tua is probably like, and I led the league in passing last year, so I get to do that.
We saw a little bit of that with Hard Knocks last year. Remember how McDaniel even mentioned, like, I wanted to be more of a mentor to this guy and treat him a little bit better. Now that makes sense of where that was coming from, because I think everyone saw that and looked at it as like, oh, is Tua sensitive? Like, I remember that's what I kind of thought when I saw this, was like, oh, does he need to toughen up a little bit? Now it all makes sense that it was Flores just bashing him the whole time.
Abuse is abuse.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what this sounds like this was on some level. And I guess that's just his style of coaching, I guess. We've seen this a lot with, very active parents of high-level athletes. You heard this about like Andre Agassi's dad. It doesn't sound like Richard Williams was that way. He was very hard on his daughters and trained them, but it doesn't sound like he was telling them they sucked all the time. Or at least that's not the picture that was painted. But there's others, like high-level athlete parents. We've run into this before where they kind of got where they got to because their parents were so rough on them all the time, constantly mentally. It sounds like that this coaching style, geez, I mean, like, if that is true, I mean, now I have an even better understanding. Forget just the lawsuit stuff for a moment. Like, he can't be a head coach. I mean, if that's how you're going to treat high-level athletes, what owner is going to want to hire you to do that? So, and then Tua gets the last laugh part of it to go, I just got extended here. And maybe had you treated me a little differently or worked with me a little differently or tutored me a little bit differently, maybe you'd be here too.
Well, and it's also Flores hasn't gotten a head coaching gig since then, right?
Yeah, I think that's been complicated. He sued the league. So I think
Sure.
there was a lot kind of going on there.
Sure. Wasn't blackballed though. And then with Tua, we all know the secret was out on Tua, that the ownership down there wanted him, enough that they were tanking, that season. Yeah. So I'm sure it was a tumultuous relationship from the get-go, essentially.
Yep. This one popped up. Bill Simmons made news. Is Jeff Bezos going to buy the Celtics now that they are up for sale? Bill Simmons maybe is wishful thinking it a little bit. Bill Simmons is also going, I made a ton of money with the Ringer and all this other stuff, but if that guy buys my favorite team and I end up being friends with him, I might get a yacht. Yeah. So probably a little wishful thinking, but this one actually makes more sense to me. Well, he could buy both. He could buy the NFL and he's one of the few that could do both if he really wanted to. This one makes more sense with the new TV deal coming in with Amazon, that he would actually buy into the NBA and not just buy into the NBA, but buy one of the two biggest brands or three biggest brands in the NBA. That would make a lot of sense to me. So he probably sees buy now there because the values are going up really, really, really fast, but they're going to skyrocket really, really, really soon with this new TV deal coming in. So I actually buy this as a possibility because he's one of the few that can just write the check, doesn't have to, get private equity money or all this other stuff or ask the Saudis for money or whatever it is. He's one of the few that can do it. It is an enormous brand, not just a team, an enormous brand. He also walks into a championship caliber team, which is probably nice too. I buy this actually, that he could buy them.
I also buy this too, because the brands in the NBA are few and far between. It's the Celtics, it's the Lakers, it's the Knicks, it's the Warriors. I mean, I think that's the list. I don't think there's any other team that comes close to those four. And you buy them. And I've been waiting for this too, because I've told you how much I loathe Fanatics and just how like everything is, poorer quality. When's Amazon going to hop in though? And you get your jersey 2 days later. Like right. I'm waiting for this. I've been waiting for a decade for it to happen. And if he does that, it's going to bridge the gap to a whole other thing where now all of a sudden, all these leagues are going to go, you can buy all your stuff now and you're going to get it in 2 days. Like, I'm telling you, like, this is a match that has been kind of like overdue at this point. And if it's the Celtics, it's not going to surprise me at all. It's one of the four franchises.
I'm picturing these screens turning into, you can bet in this widget, you can buy a jersey in this widget, you could watch the game, you could watch a different camera view in this widget, you can listen to an alt broadcast in this widget. Like, it's the shopping mall of sports, and Amazon's going to make that happen. Amazon, Apple, Google, those are the companies that are going to make that happen. And when that does start happening in the end, you know, all of the, it's not like they're not making money already, but it's going to continue to just go up and up and up. Well, like, who should own something like that? Him.
Yeah.
And, you know, I do believe it now off of the Commanders, you know, owner search thing that he did genuinely consider buying this team. So all along I was like, does he even want to own a team? So I buy this. Now that I know that he was genuinely at least looking into the Commanders, I buy this. And if he's going to buy a team, you might as well buy the biggest brand.
I think the only hang up on that would be, does the NBA give him a tip off of, we are bringing it back to Seattle in a reasonable amount of time? I think it's the only thing that could maybe pause this, but even then it's the Celtics. Like, why would you not want to own
the
them?
Seattle Amazon are not as the Boston Celtics.
Correct. Yes.
So could he buy the Seahawks and own the Celtics? Yeah.
Yep.
I think that's a possibility.
Yep.
Possibility. All right, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Bram Show is Pan 630 Sports Capital.